Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be fishing on the Oregon coast for winter steelhead. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful day. It's a little cold out right now, but I'm going to be fishing with David Johnson, pro Oregon guide, and Ty Wyatt, who also happens to be an Alaskan guide. And we're going to talk to him right now and see what the plan is for the day.
Well,
catch fish, man. Catch fish.
have fun.
Have fun.
Have fun? Are you guys going to have some fun?
I'm gonna have some fun.
Woo!
Fishing with a legend. Legend.
Oh, come on.
David
I'm fishing
Johnson,
with two
Nick
of the
Amato.
best fishermen I know.
on.
So I'm like excited. These guys are going to teach me how to improve my bobber dogging
This
skills.
is going to break down Nick. We're going to break him down and build him back up.
Yeah, bobber dogging is a little bit different. I'm used to going direct to that float and boy, hanging the water and fishing a little differently. And
Yeah.
Don't let him
Hoping
fool
to-
you, folks. I have never outfished Nick Amato.
oh, come on,
can promise
it'll
you
happen today. Right on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's been a cold morning, so we haven't touched anything yet until just now. And Ty just had one on for a couple head shakes. And so I'm regrouping. We're going to go back through there. And I'm going to rig you up, Nick, with a little bit lighter setup so you can be kind of ahead of the boat, kind of ahead of us. And then me and Ty will have heavier gear and fish behind you. And we're going to kind of mix it up a little bit, see if we can get that fish to bite again or see if there's another one in there.
Right on, Ty. Are you pumped?
I'm pumped.
All right.
I just had one. I couldn't see my float. It was in the sun.
Okay, so why aren't you guys talking together? You guys, what? You're like cavemen. You just grunt.
Yeah, this is all nonverbal communication.
Yeah.
Dave knows I'm not going to listen anyway, so
Right?
he knows you'll listen or whatever client that gets to go.
Well, it's been a super cold morning. We're doing a short float to get things going. I think we've missed for sure 2 fish we had on, another maybe. So we're gonna finish this out and then maybe do something different, but we've got a long day ahead of us. It's gonna warm up really nice. A lot of times the fish start biting a little bit better as the day goes on. And anyway, we're gonna find some pretty soon, I'm guessing.
What do you think, Ty? Like, people say a steelhead is a fish of 1,000 casts. I think it's a fish of 1,000 casts because 899 of their casts are not where the fish are, or the mechanics of it is poor. The line mending.
Right. You see somebody they fish one spot. They
Or they
don't
fish one,
move.
yeah.
They don't make an adjustment on their float. They don't switch floats. They don't switch baits. They're a fish of one
There are
good
so
cast.
So many variables.
We've had these low steelhead years, and it'll be interesting to see what happens when we have good years again, because
On those good years is when we really learn a lot, because you
Right.
can really fine tune what you're doing and figure out what's working better. And working better is like you could have a 3-fish day or a 5-fish day or a 10-fish day. It might just make a couple more fish, but then that really counts when fishing slow.
well, I missed another fish.
So you were using like what, a big hard bead, it sounds like,
Big
right?
16 mil fixed float, not very much weight. My guide told me to set the hook. I didn't set the hook, and I lost him.
All right.
But I'm gonna get the next one.
All right,
it's
on.
gonna happen.
Things are picking up, and then of course I immediately cast into a tree and lost everything. Got a little overexcited, I guess.
A lot of people say a steelhead is a fish of 1,000 casts, but I think a lot of the time 899 casts are bad, or in the wrong place, or something just isn't quite right. And there's a lot of things that an angler can do to improve their steelhead fishing. A lot of it is the line management, and most of it just comes from time on the water and practice, lots of practice, just like a basketball player or anybody else. And you want to be able to recognize and understand how to mend your line, where to put your cast on the seam, or not where there's a snag, or where the deeper part of the water is. There's a lot of reading water that is important, because the fish, 90% of the fish are in 10% of the water, kind of a thing. You know, I mean, that's something somebody's thrown out. You know, you gotta be where the fish are, and then you gotta be prepared and always expect a fish. Even if it goes under and it's the bottom, don't think, oh, it's the bottom, because that one time it might not be, and you'll be caught off guard. But there's the line wrapping. You know, for me, when I'm taking clients down the road, a lot of inexperienced people just get into a lot of little things that, you know, they miss out. Can I see that fishing rod tie? So a lot of times, well, what I want people to do is be kind of locked and loaded and ready to cast. So when I get to a spot, I can say, okay, right over there by that tree, and so they should be sitting there already ready to cast and holding onto their gear when we're floating down the river. And then when I say it's ready, you know, then they're ready and they're already got the bail open, ready to go. A lot of times people will hold the rod straight up and down, and when they do that, that rod ends up wrapping up and they're not ready. You want to have a little bit of flex to your rod, a little bit of bend to it, and just keep it tight. Be prepared.
I mean, set yourself up for success too. You know, not just after you make the cast, you point your rod at the float and you keep it between your chest and your eye. You know, even if you mend or you go up or down, come back to that neutral position and you follow your float around. Set yourself up for success. You know, how many times does somebody, you know, expect to be successful? It doesn't mean you don't want to have fun. You still want to have a good time, but still go back to that resting. I'm going to catch fish. Right?
Yeah.
I may lose every single one of them.
Well,
but you know what?
We've seen that happen
one.
Once or twice.
What about how I lost my sinker and kept fishing?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the details, Nick. You gotta pay attention.
You know, or maybe your bead slides down to your hook, or maybe you try a new hook and it's not working, or maybe you try a new leader line and it breaks. You know, because you can't find the right stuff. I mean, or sometimes it just doesn't work out.
Yeah,
but keep grinding.
Ty had a good point about following the rod. A lot of times I'll have guys throw out there and their rod's pointed this way, but the line is 90 degrees the other way. You want to be following your float as it goes down, and drift fishing and other things too, just so it's in line. So when it does go down, you're not got your line doing this to set the hook. You're right at it. It's important for the reeling down too. That's a big challenge, especially for experienced anglers, because they see their bobber go down and they want to jerk it, right, Nick?
Yeah.
But what I want to do is drop the tip, about 4 cranks to get the slack out. When it comes up tight, I'm already lifting up on it. I've had people try and do the reel till you feel, and I've watched them reel, and the bobber just reels right up, just like reels it out of the fish's mouth.
A lot of it's just the fundamentals of fishing.
Yeah.
You know, right? I mean, the fundamentals are reeling 6 inches from your tip, 4 inches for your tip, have a little bit of line, come make a nice, easy arching cast. Don't try and make an underhand cast or some silly sidearm cast.
That always
watch out for the trees, look for the windows, you know, and it's teamwork. You know, when one guy is rowing the boat, we got to work with the guy rowing with the boat, and the guy rowing the boat's got to work with us.
Can I see that rod again?
You know, if you can't communicate, you know, do grunting noises, right? You know, beat your chest.
Right.
Be cast now.
I'm gonna cast now, Nick. Keep an eye on the reel, not where it's going.
Right.
And that's what a hard time I try and show somebody, and then they always look out there. But so when I cast, I call it feathering, and I just keep my hand. We'll give it when it start to slow it down, and I stop it where I want it, and then I take my hand away and give it some slack. And I always am in the habit of flipping it by hand and not trying to click it over.
With the reel handle, right?
Yeah. I mean, that over time is going to just wear out the bail, and it's not as efficient, not as fast. So, so when I cast, and then I stop it where I want it, and then I'll give it some slack so the slack can sink down out of the bobber, and there we are.
Perfect.
Yeah, look at that. Eye height, following your float around. You mend, you back to neutral position, follow your float. Open your bail. do whatever you got to do. You know, I think I really like this technique, but teaching people is. It seems like they don't really like this, but
yeah,
man,
that works good.
What
too.
I find people, if they do this, what they do is they crush the spool when they, you know, they get so excited. Whereas if you can just control, look at that. I can even set the hook and keep my line on that.
Not suggested though.
Well, probably not. But at least you have, you know, you're not caught in between.
Yeah.
You know, I like casting with that. So you can feather or you can just cast. One hand, stop it. Off you go. But, you know, a full spool of line really makes a difference. I can't tell you how many people I see fishing and they don't have a half spool of line.
What kind of line do you like, Ty?
I like thin micro braid. Power Pro Max Quattro. You know, this, I think this is 40 pound, and a lot of people, I even fish with some guides and they're like, oh, 40 pound. I'm like, this 40 pound is thinner than most 20 pound.
I think it's the size of 8.
Yeah, it's 8 or 10.
8, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty light. And I mean, it's good to a fault.
Yeah. I mean, you could land a surgeon on 40 pound.
I've landed 60 pound halibut on 40 pound.
Yeah.
No problem, but tying a good knot for your top shot, you know, on a fixed float, a top shot's a huge advantage. You don't have to do it, but it sure is nice. It really cuts down on your tip wrap. If you have that little bit of different kind of line, it's not going to tip wrap. I don't know. Less weight, the least amount of weight that can still get down.
That makes it more natural, and it's all about being natural for a steelhead. Salmon, they're scent oriented. You can have a big old gob of eggs just sitting there, and they're gonna smell it, swim up and eat it. A steelhead is a big dumb trout. It's just gonna be swimming along there, and it just picks up things that float by like it used to when it was a little guy in the river picking up, you know, eggs or insects or whatever. And so you're mimicking that natural presentation of something floating by. So a lot of times a long leader, smaller weight, lighter line, those kind of things make it more natural.
So Ty Wyatt is a captain out of Yakutat, Alaska, and why don't you tell us a little bit about your season and what you do up there?
So the last 5 years I've been a saltwater captain. I do a few freshwater trips a year, but I mainly do halibut, bottom fish, and salmon. The last 5 years I've averaged 130 days on the ocean a year. So I do more days on the ocean than most guys do in 2 or 3 years. But then I fish for fun all winter for steelhead. So fishing for steelhead, I try to maximize my time. Maybe I only, you know, normal winter I'll probably fish 20, 30 times. You know, last couple of years it's been a little tougher fishing, 5, 6 times.
So I know you going back, you know, quite a few years, but then, you know, in kind of recent history, I guess it's been a few years now, you really got into bead fishing. And you're going to show us now kind of what your basic setup for either beads or, you know, whatever else you might want to fish under a float.
So I kind of like this one. This is kind of an adaptive bobber dogging system. Do all, whether you're drifting, you know, for the river we're fishing today, it's probably more a stationary bobber dogging. So if you're bank fishing or you're fishing from an anchored position, you're fishing a medium bobber dogger weight. You're using a full 4 or 5 inches of 1/8 pencil lead, 1/8 hollow core,
okay,
with a spinner wire in it. This one I like a longer leader. I want the bead to hunt, whether it's bead or bait. I prefer a bead. This happens to be a soft bead. I'm kind of a hard bead guy, but they'll both work just fine. And I also, you'll notice that there's a bobber stop on this one. And the reason this system I like that, especially if you're bank fishing, for whatever reason, you not only won't lose your float if you get hung up, and you don't get hung up much, but this thing will start to slide easier. So I'll show you. For whatever reason, if you have a little space between your weight and your float, and you go, and we'll just do a really hard cast, right? Watch it, and it will, there's no corky or anything. I don't, you know, a lot of guys fish are corky about it. Look, it's fishing. So it was pretty fast. That thing's fishing, and the float's pointed downstream, and it's off you go, just like that.
And that thin lead really works well, doesn't it?
It doesn't get hung up very much.
Mm-hmm.
It gets caught in trees. Trees or things underwater obstructions, like trees.
Right.
That's the one that doesn't work, but.
Well, it looks like it works pretty great to me. I know you've caught a lot of steelhead. Now, if somebody wanted to fish with you in Alaska, how would they go about setting something up?
Glacier Bear Lodge in Yakutat, Alaska. People call it GBL locally, but Glacier Bear Lodge. You could look us up online. You can call us. You can find me on Facebook. I have a little group on Facebook called Northwest Steelhead Junkies, or you can find me on Quick Fish Anonymous, or just Ty Wyatt, Instagram, Facebook. Hit me up and let's go fish.
I've been fishing with David Johnson for, geez, probably almost 30 years now, so it's always fun and a good time to get out with him, and he's going to tell us a little bit about what he's got going on these days. So here's David.
Yeah, as Nick said, we've been fishing together about 30 years. That's how long I've been guiding, going on 30 years this year. And, you know, I do Northwest Oregon. I've done quite a bit in Alaska. Haven't been to Alaska for a few years. I think, well, probably 2019 was the last time I went up there, just before the COVID. And I fish winter steelhead. I live in Tillamook. I fish all up and down the coast, from the central coast to Astoria, whether it's winter steelhead, fall salmon. We do some sturgeon in Astoria, salmon in Astoria. I fish the Willamette River coming up here. We're kind of winding down our steelhead season right now. A couple more weeks, and I'll be springer fishing on the Willamette and the Columbia up there in the Portland area. And we will be fishing those fish through June, and then it'll be back down to the coast for coastal fish, whether it be ocean or bay fishing, for the Chinook and coho.
Okay, looks like we're going to wrap it up. We had a long, beautiful day, and we're going to talk about things a little bit here.
You know what shocks me, Ty? I mean, all these other times I've ever fished with Nick, he is the luckiest steelheader I've ever seen.
I called it this morning. I'm like, I'm not going to catch him today. Nick always outfishes me.
I mean, I've seen Nick fumble a cast, and it lands at his feet, and he kind of shrugs, and
no, I remember the first
all of a sudden this bobber goes down.
Like, cigarette in the hand, bobber's down. Dave's like, oh, get it. Nick's like,
I have a fish
figure it
on.
out. Start reeling, fish on.
But today, folks,
wasn't Nick's day.
It was not Nick's day.
No, but Nick, it's been a nice day.
Nick got a lot of good practicing in, mending his line, casting, but that's all he could do.
Somebody else got a bunch of chances with the same result.
But you know what? I'm pretty disappointed in Ty, too, because he is 0 for 5.
Hey, you know that? I kind of think of steelhead fishing kind of like hunting sometimes, though.
Yeah.
You know what? Sometimes the adventure and not working out, I learn what to not do next time.
Yeah.
Or maybe
and some of those fish just flat out won fair and square. You know, that one that broke you off, it jumped, did the cartwheel. It could have touched the line. I don't think it did. It didn't look like it. But then it just snapped the leader right off.
Yeah, really weird.
Right in the middle of your leader, too.
It was so fast.
Yeah.
I really wanted to get that with my chest cam, and I turned it on right, and it happened, and it was done.
Yeah, Ty was like, there it is, and Nick goes to push the button, and Nick looks up, and it's like, it's gone.
Well, the other one I hooked right in front of the boat launch, and it just came off.
Right.
I mean, you know, but the thing is, will I do anything different next time? Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
I mean, still get them. It's definitely a year where the chances are, I mean, you called it, the exact chances on this drift were your exact expectations. 3 chances, didn't get them. But we saw one raft.
That's it. One raft.
That's it. So, you know, that's a pretty successful afternoon. You can do an afternoon drift and see one boat.
No pressure.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You know, that's almost worth it sometimes. I don't know. Probably rather catch fish.
I'd rather catch fish. Let's go home and eat a milkshake.
Oh yeah. You on Nick's diet. No changing that.